What have I told you? If it sounds too good to be true, oftentimes it is. LeBron James played his second night as the point guard position. First night point guard position, he had 34 points. He had, I believe it was like 13 rebounds or something. No, 3 rebounds, 13 assists. Everybody was ranting and raving. The next game against the Brooklyn Nets, back to back, Cavs lose 112 to 107. LeBron James has a triple double. Hip hip hooray. Except for hip hip no. LeBron James was -2 when he was on the court last night. He had 29 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds and 13 assists. But people forget LeBron almost had a quadruple double last night, and not in the way that you want, not in the fashion that you want. LeBron James had eight turnovers last night, and that's my problem with him playing the point guard position. LeBron James already has too much on his plate. He has to be the alpha and omega for the team. No disrespect to the real alpha and omega, but he has to do everything from start to finish for the team. Why put more responsibility on his plate? As a coach, Tyronn Lue should be trying to take things off of his plate, but instead, putting him in the position of a point guard puts more on his plate. Thus, it leads to negative plus minus. It leads to him turning the ball over an exorbitant amount of times, and him being your primary ball handler, it's not good for him to be turning the ball over in that fashion. 8 turnovers. Think about 8 turnovers in a playoff game. That could make or break your playoff game. You see what I'm saying? And Brooklyn Nets, they fought back, but that was a game essentially for Cleveland to take, because the Brooklyn Nets kept giving it to them with turnovers. They kept giving it to them with missing their free throws, blown defensive assignments. Cavs had a lead down the stretch, and due to some of the turnovers that took place in the game, it compounded on itself and allowed the Brooklyn Nets to get a win that they would normally not get. If LeBron James was playing power forward position and somebody else took over as the point guard, as like Shumpert or J.R. Smith or whatever, you would see a different kind of game. So that being said, Cavs are experimenting. Yes, that's fine and dandy. But you have to look at this down the stretch or halfway through the season or 30 games in, and you're like, this is not going to work. This is not something that we want. We don't want LeBron James averaging 3 to 4 turnovers per game, because teams are going to key in on that. And when your star player has those turnovers, those are deflating to the rest of the cast, because they're like, well, what about me? I could have handled this. I could have brought the ball up. So it messes up your defense. But more importantly, it messes up the Cavs offense, which is very, very simple. It's like pick and roll, not a great deal of ball movement, a lot of split cuts, like the down screen for Kyle Korver with Kevin Love. They screen each other, and one pops out, one goes to the basket. It's nothing really complicated. If a team wanted to switch those, they just switch those, and then LeBron has to make those reads. So it's early, but this is what I'm talking about. This is what I forewarned you guys about LeBron James being a point guard. 8 turnovers in a game against not even a great defense. Like, Nets defense is solid, but it's not the greatest defense in the league. Now, what happens when you have to play, against the tougher teams, the more elite teams in the East, the Wizards, the Boston Celtics, even though they lost even though they lost Gordon Hayward, they still can play defense, at a solid clip. You see what I'm saying? So what happens when you have to face whoever you face in the West? If it's Golden State or San Antonio, those guys they can play defense, so they're gonna key in and they're gonna make LeBron James uncomfortable. And him in the point guard position, 8 turnovers, that's more discomfort than you want for your star player. You don't want him to be averaging more than 2 turnovers a game. And this is down the stretch. This could hurt the Cavs very, very badly. See what I'm saying? So even the Orlando game which they played, and I think this is before LeBron got switched to the point guard position, it was just like your team is trying to build an identity. You don't want your team to build an identity of turnovers from their star player. Like, that's out. That's out. Moving on forward, we're gonna talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers, you have to talk about them in basically in threes. First thing, I'll talk about Markelle Fultz and his shoulder injury and his free throw shooting. Whoever is counseling Markelle Fultz, they need to fire him. this free throw shot like this and keeping his elbow locked or whatever, they need to get rid of that whole thing. If you watched him in Team USA, I think it was sub-18 league, pardon me, the youth league, he had a great free throw shooting rhythm. He made free throws at a nice clip. He had a smooth free throw jumper. He needs to get with, either Phil Handy or Stephen Curry shooting coach or the shooting coach at San Antonio Spurs and just work on his follow through and dipping the ball. It's okay for him to dip the ball. That's how he gets his rhythm from the free throw line. Whoever's teaching him that crap that's garbage. That's out. That's out. That was awful. But the Sixers last night, they played a game. They lost on a buzzer beater. And watching that game, the Sixers had the game at hand. It was in full effect, full control. And they imploded on themselves. I understand that the Philadelphia 76ers they have historically been a bad team as of late. But Brett Brown has to take a lot of the responsibility. They had like a 7-point lead or a 5-point lead. I understand James Harden, got the goaltending call, a foul and one or whatever with that. But execution down the stretch for these games, for this game, was very awful. And just looking at Brett Brown's record, I know they tanked games on purpose, but 2013, 2014, 19-63. 2014, 2015, 18-64. 2015, 2016, 10-72. Last year, 28-54. This year, 1-4. The 76ers are on pace to have one of the worst records in the NBA again. So that'll be how many seasons? This will be 5 seasons in a row that you have a horrible record. Now, you can say it's tanking all you want. I'm going to say also it's coaching. If this season, this team finishes sub 500, and I'll say sub 350 because they've never topped 34% in the winning percentage, Brett Brown has to go. He has to go. I understand they believe in him. I understand, he was a Spurs head coach, assistant coach, and, he has experience. When your team loses this badly, it's you. It's you. If they keep losing over and over, even the games that they're supposed to win, even when, like last year, you said you were you can only use tanking as an excuse for so long. Some of it comes down to the X's and O's. When you watch what happened last night, it was all X's and O's. The Sixers were trying to go for 3-pointers when all they needed was a layup to basically seal the game. They needed a dribble drive to the basket and get a foul. Something simple, and Brett Brown could have drawn it up. And I understand he's a good assistant coach with the Spurs, but the Spurs are a different organization from the Philadelphia 76ers. There's no more excuse to say that you guys can't play. You have JJ Redick, veteran shooter. You have there's another guy off the bench. I can't remember his name right now. He has a ball head. He can shoot threes, and he's a pretty good Bayless. Bayless. You have Bayless. He could shoot a pretty solid clip. You have Ben Simmons. He's no longer injured. You have Embiid. You have Okafor. You have young talent, but you also have veteran leadership. You shouldn't be 1-4 right now. Who should be 1-4? The Knicks, because their team has been gutted and lost Melo and stuff. You should not be 1-4. A lot of games they lost were basically down the stretch. They didn't make the right plays, and the coaching was off. And you hate to call for somebody's job, but in a situation like this, 5 seasons of not even 500, sub 300, sub 350, sub 35%. You got to get rid of the coach. You got to get rid of the coach. This is not working. All this big man crap, big man this, big man we're trying to draft, and you don't want to draft guards. You finally draft the guard, and you're treating him like he needs to change every single thing in his game. I don't know who counseled him on that, but they just need to overhaul the coaching staff. It's the coaching staff. You have talent. There's no reason you should be 1-4. It's 200. Come on, man. Stop. And finally, I want to talk about Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid talking about people need to chill. He's not made of glass, etc., etc. How many games did you play last season? 31. How many games have you played this season? 4. And prior to that, when you played the 31 games when you were drafted, you couldn't basically play because you were hurt or whatever. So whatever. Here's the thing. Joel Embiid has not played more than 30 minutes in the past 2 seasons. He's played 27, 25, average 25 minutes. 31 games last season, 4 games this season. What do you mean you're not made of glass? You are the definition of glass. See what I'm saying? So they have to treat him like with kid gloves because any minute or any moment he could get injured at any given point. So him saying that he's not made of glass, you haven't given the fans a reason for us to not think you're made of glass. You played 31 games out of 82. That's less than 50% of the games. Right now you're an experiment, and the contract that they basically gave you has all these little stipulations, and if they cut you, then if you don't get paid. So whatever that's going on with this whole Joel Embiid thing, I understand he's confident in himself and he's very charismatic. That's fine and dandy, but your team is 1-4. You don't play more than 30 minutes a game, and you haven't even played 50 games. So I think you need to reevaluate how you feel about yourself in terms of being glass or not being glass. So the Sixers they really puzzle me, from the coaching staff to the way that they draft to the players at times. It's just like it doesn't make any sense. But that being said, the best of luck to them. But in my opinion, you really, really need to reevaluate the coaching staff. And on top of that, you got to check some of these players, man, because they think they're better than they are. You know what I'm saying? So, everything is all about individual accolades. Embiid had this in 27 minutes. Ben Simmons had a triple-double, as a rookie. Like, you're talking about all this individual accolades and your team is 1-4. Like, nobody wants to hear that crap. So, I know they're trying to sell the fans on a dream, but the dream's dead. They got to get back to reality, and they got to start formulating some things that could actually work in their favor for the team. You see what I'm saying? So it can't just be about 1 or 2 guys. It has to be about the team as a whole, and the team as a whole starts from top down. Lonzo Ball and John Wall finally had their head-to-head matchup. Marcin Gortat was hyping them up. Ball's gonna kill him. Wall basically he had let's see what he had. He had 18 points. He had 9 assists, but he had 4 turnovers. He was minus 14. Lonzo Ball had 6 points, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds. And he's plus 13. And Lakers won in overtime, 102-92. This whole thing about Lonzo Ball is getting out of control, man. Like, his dad is basically his dad's mouth is signing checks that Lonzo's ass can't cash. And when I say, what I mean by that is, it's like, they won the game. Lakers won the game. Don't get me wrong. That was a team effort. But when you're talking about Lonzo Ball, you have to give that kid time to develop. You can't hype him up. And that's what I hate about this generation. It's just like, everything is all about hype. It's all about hype man. It's all about, this guy could do this because I say so. He's the best because, we were backing him and stuff like that. That doesn't get the job done. Lonzo Ball had a solid stat line, but it wasn't like nothing crazy. But the assists and the rebounds were great. I'm a Laker fan, so I could talk about Lonzo Ball. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at it more of a objective standpoint. His up and down with his scoring and stuff like that, and the stat line, it's gonna happen. He's a rookie. Laker fans are expecting Lonzo Ball to come in right into the gate and be Magic Johnson, or be Kobe Bryant. Just be a great all-time great Laker. That's not gonna happen overnight. And I'm just sick and tired of it. It's very disheartening because I feel like one way or another, he's going to have so much pressure from the fans to be something that he's not, that he might bust, or his dad's going to do some things off the court, which is going to affect him on the court, and he might, eventually become a bust. And people are saying, well, he has a calm demeanor, and he's very level-headed. I mean, I'm glad he is, and I would hope so, because his dad is just he sucks all the air out of the room. Even just showing up to his games, he's getting interviewed after the games. Like, it's the media's fault. Like, stop interviewing this dude. Stop giving him shine. Just give his son shine and let his son play. You know, but Wall losing, you know, to the Lakers or whatever the case is, you know, that's what you get for bragging and talking smack, whatever. But you know, the Lakers still do have to go to DC, and I'm pretty sure you know John Wall will be ready then. But you know, John Wall didn't have like a really bad stat line. You know, it just the turnovers and his style of play, basically trying to make it about him, is what killed the game. And what you gotta appreciate about Lonzo Ball is he doesn't make it about him. It's all in terms of team, because he's trying to deflect some of the pressure because his dad is already making it about him. And that's the problem. It's just like, it's his old song and dance is whack. You know, if you want to sell some sneakers, you know, talk about your shoes like that. Make a sneaker commercial. Don't hype your son, because I feel like when you look at Lonzo, you know, he's not that kind of guy. He's not that kind of guy to want to get into it with people. He's a very mellow kind of kid, and his dad is just basically ruining it. I mean, sometimes you can't even enjoy a Laker game, because it's just like, we're talking about him, we're talking about his dad, just his dad this, his dad is that. It's like, come on, bro. Like, nobody want to hear that garbage. Nobody wants to hear it at all. Nobody wants to hear any of that trash. Speaking of garbage, ex-commissioner David Stern is talking about lifting the ban on marijuana and stuff like that. It has medicinal purposes. David Stern, please go sit down. Please go sit down, man. Like, when you were the commissioner, you had the ban on marijuana. You have brought in the dress code because of the way AI was dressing. David Stern ruled the NBA with an iron fist. To hear him now, at his age, talking about he really wants to get the ban lifted, and this is something that the president commissioner should really consider, you know, with Al Harrington being an advocate for medicinal marijuana. You know damn well that these players today would not try to use marijuana medicinally. It'll be for recreational purposes. Like, there's, you know, a guy has an ankle injury, he wants to smoke a blunt or whatever. Like, nah, that's not gonna be the reason why these guys smoke. These guys are gonna smoke because they're on the road. You know, they're either in Cali, and you know, they either linking up with Snoop, or they're linking up with their favorite celebrities, and you know, they have the marijuana card, or they just want to smoke good kush or whatever the case is. I'm not a smoker, but I'm just trying to tell you why most people would want to use it for smoke. Medicinal marijuana does have its purposes, but you know, when you get it for the prescription, they have like a limit, like a legal limit or whatever the case is in those zones. These guys will be getting bags and bags and bags and pounds of weed and smoking it. And you know, you gotta understand what kind of message you're sending there. Like, for him to say that now, he's basically trying to put pressure on a new commissioner. Like, oh, you know, because the new commissioner, he's been very progressive in everything that he's been doing. He's made changes when there needed to be made changes, like with the LeBron rule, sitting, stuff like that. So he's been making changes. The jerseys, TV deals, everything. He's been very progressive. David Stern wants to basically steal some of his thunder and basically say, oh, you know, like, oh, I've been thinking about this a while. Like, dude, you had your whole chance. I think he was commissioner for 30 years. You never changed it. So don't try to talk about it now. Like, basically, it's just a fluke thing he's talking about. And he's basically trying to push the needle and be relevant in terms of this whole, you know, United States moving forward with the medical marijuana and the marijuana conversation in general. Now, when it comes to marijuana, it is proven to have medicinal use, and a lot of the side effects or whatever have been largely overstated. But there are certain side effects to marijuana, which can also include paranoia if you're smoking something crazy. It also could include sometimes low sperm count, and it also could cause you to make mistakes. So, like, when you drink alcohol, you know, it impairs your inhibitions or whatever the case is. When you smoke marijuana, even though, like, it hasn't led to, like, a lot of crazy things in terms of, like, car accidents and stuff, it has led to people making mistakes while driving, and they have gotten in car accidents. So, like, you can make more mistakes smoking weed. So if you have players coming into the game impaired because they have been smoking, that could affect the product, the quality of product that you're putting on the court. Now, some people might say, well, you know, back in the day when I was in high school, guys used to smoke and play, they would be fine or whatever. And I used to see that, but I also used to see guys in my high school smoke before a game and play like shit. So this is something that you have to tread lightly. But, you know, in terms of David Stern, he just needs to sit somewhere and be quiet. I understand he's trying to be a mentor to the president commissioner, but stop it. Like, all this trying to be progressive now, you need to stop it. You're the same guy that got, you know, overly threatened when guys were wearing fitteds and do-rags and stuff like that. When back in the day, that was the style. Like, you know what I'm saying? Big baggy clothes and stuff like that. So you instituted suits, get guys getting fined, and, you know, suspending guys when fans are attacking them. So this is the same guy. So he ruled our NBA with an iron fist, and for him to talk about, oh, this is miracle marijuana, I think this is, no, cut it out. Cut it out, because guys aren't going to use it for medical use. They're going to use it for personal use. This is Vlad with Hoops Junction with Hoops Meets Hoopla. Peace.